Hello and welcome everybody to a new conversation of the Altering, Shifting, Communing series, which is a project hosted by Call for Curators. My name is Ilaria Conti. I'm the curator of the series. And just as a reminder for those who might be joining for the first time, this is a series that started a little over a year ago, and it's meant to communally discuss the multiple understandings and possibilities of curating. And in this series of exchanges and conversations, what we try to do is really focus on practices that exercise critical thinking and that place collaboration at the center while also cultivating cross-cultural approaches. We try at least to look at curating as a system of power and as one that can also spark change on the social, political, and financial infrastructures that allow for contemporary art itself to exist. So through this series, we address the responsibilities of curating, but also the importance of considering not just what we do, but how we do it. And the title of this series, which is, again, Altering, Shifting, Communing, is, as we always say, also a statement of intent somewhat toward altering the terms of the conversation, shifting ground, and communing with each other. So today, I'm very, very happy to welcome Rosa and Georges. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here for a conversation on their work with Picha, which is an art organization based in Lubumbashi. As always, we will have a 40-minute conversation approximately, and then we will open up to the Q&A for those who are watching. And I always encourage everybody to ask questions while we are in conversation, just through the comment section of Facebook and YouTube, and we will get to it as soon as we can. So again, Georges, Rosa, thank you so much again for being here. As you know, the very first question that I always ask since the beginning of this series is the same. It's always one that somewhat acknowledges and honors the humanity of the people that care to join and share with us their knowledge and their work. And so I wanted to start by asking you, how are you? Where are you? And how has this past year been?
I start?
Yeah, I guess that.
So I'm okay. I must say I'm feeling lucky because even if there was a lot of pain around us in communities, I think that my family was in good health. So of course I'm based in Brussels, so I'm in a big city. So I feel a bit the isolation, of course, social isolation, but I'm working a lot. So this is my, my nurture. I'm nurtured by work. Voila.
Yes, hi, Hilaria, and thank you for the invitation. I think I'm also good. After passing this quite hard year, it was very, very hard for people that I know. We couldn't see each other. Because I think even Rosa, we didn't meet each other since, I don't know, 1 year now. We didn't see each other physically, but we always meet each other every time when I pass by Brussels. So beside that, I'm good now. So I am in Rome. I got the chance last year, beginning of September, to start a residency at the Villa Medici. So I spent almost 1 year, and it was quite good to have this experience. After all this, before coming to Italy, there was a lot of problem in the news, what was happening in Italy. And then I came there, and everything was completely changed, and I got this chance to not feel like the lockdown of Corona, but I'm quite good here.
I'm glad. And I also wanted to ask you, as we were saying, if you could also just introduce a little bit also your practice. You have two different practices. It's good to understand where you're coming from, also in light of what we will discuss regarding Picha. So it's a great opportunity to also learn about who you are in your professional life, in a way.
So I'm a film producer, so I'm really, really engaged in cinema as a producer and also as a curator. So I am one of the co-founder of Picha in 2008, and so since then, and even before, I was in Mozambique I'm really engaged in collective practices and also in places where we are really feeling rooted in a place and in a community. So for me, it's really important not to be a kind of expat or international, but I'm really engaged and in the experience and in the place. So now I work mainly in Brussels, but I'm also linked to Senegal, Dakar, where I was born and raised. So I'm really connected to both Brussels, Dakar, and Lubumbashi. Voilà.
So in my case, I'm a photographer and also a member of Picha. So I was collaborating with Picha since the beginning in 2008. And then I joined the team officially in 2016 to be like a member, like a member of Picha. But before that, I was more in collaboration. And since the beginning, I knew everything about how Picha started. I was involved in some projects. Um, officially I live in Lubumbashi. I can say that. And then, but I realized that this is just my address, one of the addresses in Lubumbashi and one of the addresses in Netherlands. But I keep moving between Lubumbashi, Netherlands, Brussels, Croatia, and everywhere. But I basically work in photography. It's only that I do. Yeah.
Thanks. So then let's get right to it, starting with a very basic question, just to set a little bit the horizon for the conversation. Talking about Picha, and very simply, I wanted to ask you when and how and why Picha was born. So if you could tell us a little bit about the genealogy and the roots of the project.
So Picha is located in Lubumbashi. Maybe we can share a bit the screen.
Sure.
And it's located in the It's located in the second city of Congo that is really far away from the capital and a bit isolated in one sense and more close to Southern Africa than to Central Africa. So Picha was born in this city, which is a mining city that was really connected to extraction of minerals since the colonization. And the meaning of Picha is image in Swahili. And so we gather with a lot of people and local institutions first in 2008 to organize these encounters, these Picha encounters. And we were really concerned by the fact that there were no really cultural initiatives in Congo and also, I mean, not in Congo, but in Lubumbashi mainly. And so there was this need to fill in this gap or this emptiness. And of course, there were two artists, Gulda El Magambo and Sani Balogi, who went to the Biennale de Bamako as photographer. And when they came back, they said, well, we have to do this in our place. So the first edition was mainly focused on photography and also on cinema. So together with Douglas Masamuna, we did this program of mainly Congolese films. But then the Biennale started after that, and Picha really started because of the Biennale, of this event, let's say. So we, yeah, voilà.
This is how the very sort of beginning.
Yes, the very beginning.
Yes, and I see somehow that you were ready for what I was about to ask you next, which I think is very important because while we were discussing and preparing for this talk, we were talking a little bit about how some of those who might be watching this or some of those who will be watching the record of this conversation might not necessarily be familiar, right, with the context in which Picha was developed and operates. And I think it's a great opportunity to have this kind of conversations to educate ourselves through your knowledge, through Georges' knowledge, to really expand a little bit the horizon of also what contemporary art and creativity is beyond the usual suspects, so always beyond the usual capitals, so to say, and this very centralized, a little bit hegemonic structure of geographies, no, of contemporary art. So I wanted to ask you whether you could both tell us a little bit more about the context of Lubumbashi and DRC really as a terrain for contemporary art or for this type of project. If you could tell us more, again, maybe some of us are missing somewhat the building blocks of the context, no, in which you operate.
I think the like as Rosa was saying before, that like everything it's come one to each other. Historically itself, how Rosa was trying to explain how Picha was created, I think the more basic stuff, it was the necessity of how local artists can be in spotlight by organizing something as a Biennale of Lubumbashi, and through that, and so we decided to make the Picha Art Center. So I think this necessity question more where is the place of the contemporary art in the city of Lubumbashi, or who, for example, lead this kind of question through, because we have because you cannot forget that we came from popular paintings in like around Congo or in some specific province. So it depends of like what was happening in Lubumbashi, because Lubumbashi, it was very connected and is still connected to the mining company. So through landscape of those popular paintings or to family portraits, everything was linked between this power of the mining company or the royalist company. And you can see that people was more far for the reality of the contemporary art, because we were a little bit disconnected to the capital, that is Kinshasa, and they have the art of the University of the Academy there, and Lubumbashi we had only the high school, like the secondary school. So I will try to bring it like a little bit on my personal experiences, like through all these experiences with just two people who want to see what's happening outside of Congo, and try to bring the idea in Lubumbashi, creating the Biennale, and creating the workshop, like because I was part of the first workshop of the Biennale of Lubumbashi, and through that workshop, they discover my work, and I still remember the first time that my work was shown. It was on it was on screaming, it was not even exhibited like on paper, but to try to approach people, and those kind of screaming was located in different places, because it was already how we think, how we can approach the local population to make them understand exactly what happened, or what's the like not young artists, but young generation who can think through beside popular painting and how they can express themselves. We made a first projection. It was a university. The first projection was the main, we call it La Posta. So the main square of the Lubumbashi city hall. There is everything happening there. People having public transportation, people going to other part of the city. So I think it's about the necessity and how we try to put it together, so we can share between the people who working in Picha, having Picha, and the local population. I think Rosa can complete me about that. Rosa, you can complete me, or you want me to
I
continue?
just would like to add the fact that there was this necessity also because there is, there was, now I think we are also linked to a lot of other organizations who are active in the whole country, Congo. They are like the Studio Kabako, Yole Africa in Goma, the Yango Biennale. So there are a lot of little spots, but there is no public program or support for artists, for culture, for cinema in Congo. So like the individuals and this community around this organization, this local organization, are doing the job of in a sense, they're doing what maybe the government should support or should do. Voila.
Yes, definitely. And another thing that I think was somewhat interesting to address, drawing on how you were talking about your individual practices before, is that Picha really is formed by professionals that have very diverse artistic backgrounds, and also international practices, like both of you. So I wanted to talk, because this series is also so interested in sort of the collective notion, on how to work collectively, communally. I wanted to ask you whether you could tell us a little bit about the process of how you structured such a collective entity, how you delineated these internal processes, and also, and this is more at the, if you want, on the infrastructural side, but I also want to ask you at the same time, how does this sort of horizontality also influences the contents, right? Because there is a direct relationship with how you run an organization and the type of content and projects that you can develop. So as a collective entity, Picha, how did you structure it internally? But also, how does this sort of bring about a specific kind of programming?
Georges, tu veux commencer?
Yeah, I can start. Because I think the main Picha, as I think Picha always find this energy. The thing that keeps us very strongly is, first, we are all friends, and from our friendship, we always discuss about what like we ask ourselves question about what we can do next time or what we can do in the future. So he doesn't. So we are not structured only with like artists or movie maker like Rosa or photographer like me. So this community to bring the artistic, like the friends together. So we keep more this level of taking the responsibility, how we can share things together from the background of everyone. So we had people who doesn't do art, but they are just connected to art or they like art. You have people that they write also. You have people who are interested in communication, but also like music. So there's always something between that. I can say we have one step in or doing art or just love art, and one step just friendship and energy to put together and to program something, so we can try to evaluate it. And so that is very, I can say that is very strongly. And in terms of programming and how we work together, we usually like everything that needs to be done need to be discussed together. So one of us can come with a project and we can just put it on the table and we can discuss about that to see how it can be done or if it's interesting for the group, or if it's not the moment to do it, we can do it in 5 or 10 years if we still have energy to create program. So there is some basic rules that every organization can have, like a structure, a space, or month meetings so we can discuss. But beside that, we open it more generally and to keeping evaluating in that sense. I think it was completely.
Yeah, of course, it's true that we are kind of complementary, all of us. We are artists, producers, etc., as Georges said. But I think there is really a group in talking. Like we are really in a group talk every time we need to do some big choices. And then there is, of course, the structure that is a simple association. So Asbl in Congo. And in case of problems, of course, there is this legal structure that helps sometimes. It happened also that we called external people to be involved in the discussions if really there was something important, but mainly, yeah. And I think that this horizontality is, of course, is a strength because there is no president or there is not hierarchy in the organization, and it gives us a lot of uncertainty in one sense, but a lot of freedom as well. So this connects for me to the question also of the structure, because we are, I mean, we exist like for more than a decade, but still we have no structural funding, either national or international. And so we struggle each year to have a local coordination to be paid and to be formed and to be trained, etc. So this is really the complexity of all of it, and also to pay, you know, the rent of the places and etc. So voilà.
Thank you so much. So then, to continue also on how you're developing sort of the programming, I wanted to start by asking, what are the core lines? So we will delve further into specific programs, but first I wanted to just get sort of a bird's eye view of what Picha does, why, and as we said before, also how. So
yeah, I can start to say that really since the second edition of the Biennale in 2010, Picha is really in the urban spaces. So we are really connected to the city, and of course this city is also connected to the world. And so in terms of program, we have this connection to the city, we have this connection with international partners, and then we have also the support of local artists through workshops, residencies, etc. So the Biennale de Lubumbashi, which really, let's say, make us, make us alive. I mean, sorry, but voilà, this is really the principle, the basis, and then there is this Art and Research Center that we have since 2010 that is located in the city center, really, sorry, close to the GK, so the previous mining work offices, the main. And then we have the Atelier Picha. As I said also before, we are really connected to a lot of local organizations in DRC and also in Lubumbashi. And so let's say that the program, there are artist talks, there are workshops, there are collective activities. Sometimes they are planned, sometimes they are not planned. There is a library. So there are a lot of, sorry, I need to cough. Sorry, I will drink a bit.
yes, of course. Take your time, Rosa.
Yeah, no, because I was a bit sick the past weeks. So yeah, this place is really, let's say, occupied, no, by the people. It's really like alive. There is always something happening in there. Georges, tu peux continuer?
Yeah. So I think, like, if I want to take it from the space that we have, if we go for the first Biennale of Lubumbashi, it was Rencontre Picha, so how people are meeting. And we create this space also in this way that people can always meet each other, because of the logistic problem of you have some people that they don't have their own studio, or they work on some specific projects, so they need space and time to be concentrated for 1 month or for 2 months or even for, like just for 2 days. And so we open that space in terms also of supporting and any artists from Lubumbashi or from outside of Lubumbashi who need to work in the city and need some space to work and can meet other artists, because it's a space where you always find people around. They always come to see what's happening, or they also bring something if they have something to bring to the space, so people can share it together. And I think it's a very help people, like all of us. It's every time when I'm in Lubumbashi, I spend almost, if I don't have work to do, I spend all my time there at Picha, meeting people, talking to friends, participating in some talk, or even doing some workshop. So we always, so I just want to say that it's a little bit funny, because I didn't think about that before you asked this question, and I just got the link for the first name of the Biennale of Lubumbashi, that Rencontre Picha, how we keep using Biennale de Lubumbashi, but the Rencontre Picha still following us to the space. And and we did also a lot of focus and workshop. This is quite very important, because to the workshop we keep so we create this system about mentoring local, especially young artists, that they can come from everywhere in Congo, but if they have the possibility to come to Lubumbashi and they want to share something with Picha, we always like following them through their process of creation, or give them even information, because we did a lot of research to different places, and then if someone needs something, and we always share what we have. So that is also one of our programs. So it's beside the Biennale.
Yes.
Thank you. And then I wanted to ask again, because we're going sort of layer by layer, no? More and more in depth. So the next thing I wanted to ask you is really whether you could show us a little bit more from all these sort of lines of programming, specific programs, projects, specific events that you have presented in the recent years. Because I feel that sometimes when you are removed from a certain context or a certain type of practice, it's even hard to visualize it, to imagine it, no? So I'm very grateful that you have developed such a rich presentation for us. Thank you for that, because I think it really helps articulating our imagination in different ways and understanding, you know, it with a little bit more depth, which I think it's very important in this type of series. So yes, just if you could talk to us a little bit more about specific things that are particularly interesting for you, maybe.
Yeah, well, it's been, I think, also more than a decade that some members of Picha have this project in Makwasha, which is a village 40 kilometers from the city. And so there now we manage, thanks to support of foundations, etc., to build a residency and to start some workshops with a community of women, because they have this traditional practice of mural painting. And so the idea is to invite contemporary artists and also artists from Lubumbashi, so let's say urban artists, to exchange knowledge with these women, and so this is the main road to Makwasha, and these are the paintings, and so it's to print them on with the silk screening process. So this way, for instance. So this is a new, I mean, it's not a new project, but it's really something that we are looking for for the future of Picha. It's a very important project. Then, of course, the Biennale has been the core of the activities of Picha, of the budget, of the support. Really important. There were Biennale where we had really little money, little support, and then some others where we really had a lot. So they are not always the same, but they kind of articulate our activities, and they nourishes all the activities. They nourish the activities that are being developed after the Biennale. So it's an enormous event for us. So the last Biennale, it was like, I don't know how, like more than 50 artists and more than 80 guests from all around the world. So of course, the Biennale is very important in the sense that there is also this connection with this high school that we can see, the l'Institut des Beaux-Arts de Lubumbashi, where we always organize talks with artists, exhibitions, etc. And so this is also thanks to a work work that one of our members, Gabriele Sami, is doing as well, is the mediation with like young audiences. Voilà. And then we occupy also the Museum of Lubumbashi. So we are in also very important venues, let's say. What I can say, so this is the images of the last Biennale. So here, for instance, we were also in a school of young girls. And it was an amazing exhibition of a photographer, a woman photographer from Kinshasa. Then, of course, this is the program that is really now important for us, and since 2017, the director of the Biennale, Thomas Muteba Lutumbwe, also was directing this workshop at Atelier Picha, which is a kind of how we can make a link between an international Biennale and the local artist. We invite curators, artists, scholars to really support and guide this artist from all over the country. So this is also a really big struggle because the country is huge, and so to get people from Kinshasa, Kisangani, Goma seems like nothing, but it costs a lot. Now the Atelier Picha is under the direction of Lucrezia Cipitelli until 2022, so which is the year of the next Biennale as well. So what is important is really this connection between local and international, because here, for instance, some of the participants of 2017 have traveled after to Brussels, to Paris. Of course, they had already an experience, so they were not like just young artists. They had, but I think that Atelier Picha helped them to really go further. So we have also this link with, for instance, Wiels in Brussels, the Wiels Art Centre, which is very important because it welcomes each year an artist in residency from Congo. So this is a really an important collaboration. So here are the participants of 2017, and here of 2019 we had this collaboration because we work with a network of a local organization, national, but also international, and also in Africa. So like Market Photo Workshop, here we see Patrick, which was one of the mentors. He came from Market Photo Workshop. This is also a big struggle to get these South collaborations that are very important to us. And I don't know if I can continue. Maybe I start to be a bit boring.
No, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so this is really like the main core of the program today at Picha is the Atelier Picha. So it's really a permanent production, education, and exhibition program. And even with the pandemic, they continue to do Zoom sessions with invited guests from Berlin, from Senegal, from Morocco. And of course, we also invite local people like Douglas Masamuna here, who has a long experience. So this is also collective work in a sense. He has a long experience in education and in cinema. And so he was one of the mentors of one of the atelier. So we're not inviting only international experts, but we are really also trying to connect with the experts who are close to us. Voilà.
Thank you for this. And we were talking also, again, while preparing for this talk, we were talking about the sort of different levels of strategies that you, Picha, in this case, develops, to have this double movement, because in a way you, as you said, bring in to Lubumbashi international practitioners through the Biennale, through Atelier Picha, and in general through your practice, but I also bring local artistic practices to more of an international audience. And we were also talking, on the one hand, it's about how you structure things, which is what you've just told us or shown us a little bit. But on the other, it's also more about tools and strategies and how you think about certain things. And you mentioned a couple of other things that I wanted to ask you about that I think could be interesting also for those who are watching or listening, just to get to know how to break this a little bit, geographical barrier that we were talking about before between center and other centers that are not really peripheries. They're just periphery depending on where you look at them from. So I wanted to ask you if you could tell us a little bit more about this sort of double movement of international exchange that you're trying to build.
Georges?
Yeah. No, because Rosa was explaining so good, and I was like,
we were all enchanted by Rosa.
Yeah, I think this I was started this because we were focusing more on the on the workshop, but the idea also to have this exchange as bringing people from outside of Congo, but also it's not only people from outside of Congo, but also bring people from other cities in Congo, because the mobility in Congo, it's very difficult. It's so huge. Like Rosa was saying, to bring someone from Kinshasa to Lubumbashi, it costs the same price to Lubumbashi, flying from Lubumbashi to Johannesburg. So it's the same distance, it's the same price, like the ticket. Picha as the main one of the main activities that is the Biennale of Lubumbashi, who usually manage to bring artists from everywhere, but also bring artists from not only outside of Congo, but also inside Congo to Lubumbashi, so they can meet each other, they can try to talk, they can try to exhibit all together. And the focus of the workshop to trying to bring the audience or the participants or the people that we are trying to mentoring to the workshop with other organizations. And it's about also this kind of giving like the opportunities. We know that people can connect now via emails or now it's more via Zoom. For example, we didn't have the mobility last year or because of Corona, but people were still connected via this workshop that was online. And I think this mediation and this connect, like Picha is playing a role to connect people, and that is also very important because people like Picha have already this kind of I can say a notebook, can contact artists very easily, can some of the members we can plan to travel and go to meet some curator and talk, introduce ourselves about the project that we're doing in Congo, see the possibility if they can come to Congo, or we can also go and meet local artists, like go to Kinshasa, trying to meet local artists, younger or confirmed artists, to trying to introduce ourselves and see the possibility about working in the future together. So I think this it's not a strategy, but it's a way to work. Like I was saying, since the beginning, we are there to connect. So we connect as friends, and then we're trying to connect other people to friends. So this friendship can be like can create something very magically. And if I want to go to myself, Sammy decided to go live in Belgium, and then he had an exhibition in Ostend. He met the director of the Wiels Institute, of the Wiels Art Centre, and then we decided to create this program to start inviting artists to come to Brussels. I was the first one who went to this residency. So everything is following one after each other by putting all together, putting people all together.
Yeah, then I would like to add, of course, we try to, as Georges said, the members are kind of ambassadors. So each time you have the opportunity to meet supporters, curators, other artists or cultural practitioners, then there is a link, and then there is this familiar connection that they want to come to Lubumbashi, because there is this familiar connection. Then, of course, like each year, we participate to the Prince Class Fund speed dating as well, where we can meet other organizations like us who are rooted, who are struggling with funds, and so we can connect also in those places. But for instance, Market Photo Workshop was between Georges or Samy, I don't remember, they met, and then of course it was an evidence that even if there was this struggle of the English and French versus French, we need to do something together. Then structurally we didn't manage because of lack of but we already organized some workshops and exchanges between Market Photo Workshop and Picha. Then there are so many people and organizations in Africa mostly which are connected to Picha that I cannot name like now all of them, but there are lots, and I can feel that I think that there is a lot to do as well. And now it's becoming even more harder with the pandemic. And so we have to reinvent something in a way. But what the most important is that we are alive, and that also at Picha, in Lubumbashi, there are things that are happening all the time. Voilà. And for the next Biennale, we would like to be more collective practice. So the idea is really not to invite one curator, but to have a collectivity of organizations like us, to invite them to come in Lubumbashi. But of course, voilà.
That's wonderful. And I will say, I understand that you cannot name them all, the sort of partners and allies, but you can name some if you want.
Exactly, allies, yes, as you said, allies.
Because one of the things that we also try to do always through this series is, of course, we invite an organization or some curators or a voice, if you want, but then it's also meant to be used as a platform to share with others, with the others who make our work possible. And so we know that, we acknowledge the fact that we're part of a broader network of alliances, as you were saying as well.
Like, for instance, I'm thinking in Angola about Paula Nascimento and Bruno Leitão. They came at the last Biennale. We get some support from Foundation, and since the beginning also of Picha, we always invited Angolan artists, because of course Angola and Congo are the same country in a sense. It's the Empire of Congo with K, so it's the same country. So voilà, to make another example.
That's great. And So the last question, and with this, I just want to say, because we're about to run out of time, I encourage anybody who's watching this, if you have questions, please feel free to just type them in the comment section. We're going to pass them on right away. But so you were mentioning allies. You mentioned a lot of people that we admire, that I just want to acknowledge and thank. You mentioned Bruno, Paula, you mentioned Gabriele Salmi, who I want to thank for sort of making the connection with Georges and with you. Who really made the conversation possible in a way. But then I also wanted to look sort of at the other side of the coin, because one thing that constantly emerges in the conversations that I'm hosting through this series is the question of sustainability. We were chatting a little bit behind the scenes somewhat about this. One level is how different organizations, different contexts, social, political contexts, and so on and so forth, understand the idea of sustainability, of what sustainability is. So that in and of itself, in a way, it's already a question, right? What is sustainability for Picha? But at the same time, what sustainability does Picha have? And in relation to this, also, what are the challenges that I guess stem from the specificities of the context you work in, the city, the country, and so on? You were mentioning before how hard it is to have people travel from one place to the other inside the country. So you mentioned that, but I'm sure that there's plenty that stem also from other dimensions. So the question of challenges and sustainability is the one I wanted to close with. And I realized that when I was first discussing this with Rosa, Georges, that it's a bummer question to end with, but I think it's also an important question to end with, in the sense that it's a reality check for every project that wants to be bottom up and not top down. It's a question that we all have to face. So the hope is that this type of challenge is something that, as we discuss it, someone who might be listening also might have new ideas and thoughts about how to develop new tools toward that. So sorry, very long question for my yes.
So this is really, I think, let's say the struggle of so many organizations who are really engaged in the communities and not looking at money at all, but really trying to do step by step to build something. And of course, I don't know if you are sharing now the
yes.
Yeah, of course, you know, in the context of Congo, it's really a fragile context, because politically, economically, socially is really, I cannot, I cannot explain, because of course you all know, you all imagine. Then there is this dependence on international support and no national support. Then there is also not a real recognition from the national public authority. And then, of course, there is this thing about the team, you know, who is facilitating, coordinating, managing. And we are kind of experimenting all the time, and all the curators we invited, Elvira Diangani-Ose, Sandrine Collard, Thomas Muteba, Mutumbwe, can really confirm that. But there is, I think, even if there are these uncertainties or this, there is this energy that Georges was talking about, the fact that we are really confident on each other, or we are like friends, of course, but how can I say, is that we are doing something that we really believe in. So we never gonna stop it, you know, even if there are all these problems. So we always try to structure. So we had a lot of people who work like for even several years, or who get trained in production and in management, or even in communication at Picha. And then they left because they had a better salary elsewhere, or they had a better job position. And I totally understand that. But we have to continue. And of course, I think that the recognition that also Picha has, both locally and internationally, also help us a lot. And then, of course, we are also always very focused on the quality and the emancipation that is coming from the activities that we are supporting or that we are doing, you know, because I think that yeah, this is like something very important. It's one of the let's say the gasoline of Picha, yeah. And you know, it's like I will just make an example. When you are in the middle of the bush and you are on a bus, and there is no water, there is nothing around, and the bus stops because I don't know, whatever happens, you know that you will always arrive where you have to go. So you have just to believe in that, and you have to wait and to be patient. And a lot of people are going to get organized to maybe walk 2 kilometers away to bring water to the engine and to start the trip again. So I think this is a bit also Picha, how we do. I mean, we always have to stop, okay, be patient, try again, fix again, and then we continue and we continue.
This is a wonderful metaphor. Thank you so much for this, Rosa. So we're sort of reaching the end of our time. So I want to thank you both for this. I don't know if any of you have sort of any final thoughts or anything that you may want to share that I didn't have the chance to ask you, or anything, any afterthought.
Yeah, so I'm sharing here just some links for you the audience, to get a sense of what we've done in the past, and that these productions or these experiences are really helping us to see the future as well. And I really recommend the Lubumbashi 2050, which is a performance by Doreen Moka. And Doreen Moka passed away recently, so it's also a tribute to Doreen, so please watch it. There are a lot of things to say about this piece, and there are a lot of interventions in the short in the clip that you have on YouTube from people who watch this performance. So it's really interesting to continue and think about what Picha is doing there.
Thank you, Rosa. And we will publish these also on the page of the talk, which I just want to remind everyone, the link. This is where we will store the talk, and also we will add these links so that people can just click on them. So thank you very much. Georges, I see you silent, but I know you've had a very long day, so I'm not going to stress you out. I wanted to thank very much both of you for your presence, for your time, and again, for being always so open and willing to share your knowledge. I also wanted to share the link. This is very easy for people to remember. We will add it to the page as well of the Biennale de Lubumbashi website, because as Rosa was saying before, there's plenty of information also on Picha, on the atelier, on all the things that we've been discussing. So it's a good starting point for those who may want to read more. And also, as always, if anybody has an afterthought or a question that comes to mind after the end of the talk, which often happens to me as well, I just want to share the email address. This is for comments, but also for questions for Rosa and Georges. We're always very happy to pass it on or to connect dots and people. So with this, again, thank you so very much to both of you. And hopefully until soon. Take care for now.
Thank you.
Okay,
Ciao.
thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.